Welcome to our video, and we're over by Smithfield Meat Market, and we're going to start right here at the walls of St Barth's Hospital. And here we have a plaque. Now there's loads and loads of history here, but apparently near this spot on the 23rd of August 1305, William Wallace was caught and was executed. But a plaque in his memory and what he actually did, his heroism and devotion, sits here right on the wall, and as you can see, flowers are left behind. Now, there's lots and lots of history here, including a well-known hospital and also the only statue of King Henry VIII, which you may have seen on this channel before, but we're going to show you it again. Plus, we're here because we're here for two churches. There you go. There's the Henry VIII statue right above the gatehouse. And it's so be that actually churches have been here for many, many years. And that's what we're covering in today's video. We're covering St Bartholomews the Lesser and St Bartholomew the Great. Yes, two churches within, well, stone's throwing distance. But you don't want to do that because you break the windows. Right, let's start with this one. This is St Bartholomew the Less. So this present church is the latest in the series of churches and chapels associated with the hospital over the past 800 years. Now its earliest predecessor, known as the Chapel of the Holy Cross, was founded nearby in 1123, at the same time as the Priory, which is now the Priory Church of St Bartholomew the Great. Yeah, that's not easy to say, is it, when you've had a drink or two? But anyway, we're going to that one a little bit later, before moving to the present site in 1184, and there you go. And you can see a little bit of history there as well, because along with other religious foundations, the hospital was dissolved by, yes, himself, the one by the gatehouse, King Henry VIII. It was then refounded by King Henry VIII when the chapel became an Anglican parish church, serving those living within its precincts. Now, its suffix, otherwise known as the Less, was given to distinguish it from its larger neighbour, St Bartholomew the Great, which was the former Priory, which we're going to go to, well, in the next minute or so. Now, the church's tower and west facade date from the 15th century, with two of its three bells dating from 1380 and 1420. Yeah, just take that in, 600 and 650 years ago, and they hang with an original medieval bell frame believed to be the oldest in the City of London. So it's worth just taking a bit of time to take that in. The age of those bells, well past the time of King Henry VIII, well before he was born or even thought of. Anyway, going back to the history, in 1793, George Dance the Younger, who was a Royal Academician, created a new octagonal interior with the shell of the medieval chapel and its cloistery running above the old walls. Now, the new construction was made entirely of wood and soon became affected by dry rot, and in 1823 it was replaced under the supervision of Thomas Hardwick, who replaced the timber construction, which you can see there, with stone in an island ceiling, and he also made alterations to the detailing. Now, we go next door and you can see Smithfield Market there, and this is the rather grand but rather beautiful Tudor style entrance taking you to St Bartholomew the Great. Yes, we're going to go through that church there, that door, which is going to take us through to the churchyard. So if you're around this area, yeah, it's worth coming down here just to come and see this piece alone. And we haven't even gone anywhere near the church. So St Bartholomew the Great, which was a medieval priory, was founded in 1123 by Rahare, who was an Augustan canon regular and had dealings with St Paul's Cathedral. Yeah, that's the brand old St Paul's Cathedral, not the newer one done by Christopher Wren. Anyway, whilst at the Vatican, Rahare dreamed that a winged beast came and transported him to a higher place, then relayed a message from the High Trinity and the Court of Heaven that he was to erect a church at London's Smithfield. Rahare travelled to London and was informed that the area in his vision, then a small cemetery, was royal property and could not be built upon. Now, Henry I, however, granted title of the land to Rahare upon hearing his divine message. Rahare started construction on the building with the use of servants and child labourers, who collected stones from all over London. The Priory gained a reputation for curative powers, with many sick people filling its aisles. Notably on the 24th of August, St Bartholomew's Day, many miracles were attributed to occur within and without the walls of the building, including a light sent from heaven from its first foundation and especially miraculous healings. Many serious disabilities were claimed to be cured after a visit. Many of these cures were undertaken at the church hospital, the still existing St Bart's, which is right next door. See, dates well back when. Now, the last prior was Robert Fuller, who was the abbot of Waltham Holy Cross. He was favoured by King Henry VIII, having been invited to attend the christening of Prince Edward, and did not oppose the dissolution of the Priory. While much of the hospital survived the dissolution of the monasteries, about half of the Priory's church was ransacked, then demolished in 1543. Having escaped the Great Fire of London of 1666, the surviving parts of the church fell into disrepair. During Canon Edward Savage's tenure as rector, the church was further restored at the cost of more than £60,000. That's that money, not today's money. It would be a lot more now. Now, the surviving building had comprised part of a priory adjoining St Bartholomew's Hospital, but its nave was pulled down up to the last bay, although the lofty crossing arches and the choir survived largely intact from the Norman and later Middle Ages, enabling its continued use as a parish church. Now, what I've really discovered is all the different types of artwork that they've got around all the different churches in London, and this place is no exception, although considering the age of the place, it has more modern stuff, so it's certainly quite interesting. Obviously, the one that you're just seeing there from 1999, but then as you go round, there's still parts of the building which, well, when you come here, you really need to have a good look at, and some of the architecture as well. By the way, do excuse some of the focusing in. It's very, very difficult because actually the building is quite dark inside. So it's making sure we can, well, try and focus in as much as possible. So do excuse it. Now, this section is the Lady Chapel, and it's said to be newly built in 1336. And this extends to the east of the choir, with a crypt under its eastern end. Now, the building was in secular use after the dissolution of the Priory and divided into workshops and houses. Reacquired by the parish in the late 19th century, it was restored by Sir Aston Webb to something close to its original appearance, with much original stonework surviving from then. Like so many of the churches across London, it's completely free to come in, and of course just be respectful, especially if they've got services on. But you get pretty much a free rein to walk around wherever you want. And also what I really love about these places as well is not only the views, but also they give you lots and lots of the history yourself. So actually, you don't need to listen to this, well, if you're going to visit, of course, but of course you do, dear watcher. But also you can see a lot of the history as well in these sorts of pop-ups. And if you're American, Benjamin Franklin learned his trade just around the corner while living on Little Britain. Yeah, it was during his time there as an apprentice that he worked on the second edition of William Wollaston's Religion of Nature. So there you go, a bit of American history just around the corner. And once again, as I always say, when you're in London, you've got to make sure you look up. If you didn't look up, you would have missed that tapestry, and Lord alone knows what else is hanging from the rafters. Now, the Priory Church was designated a Grade 1 listed building on the 4th of January 1950, and in April 2007 it became the first Anglican parish church to charge an entrance fee to tourists not attending a worship. Though this was discontinued and the church is open free of charge on weekdays, which must have been one of the days that I came in, only because I didn't pay a penny, although I left a nice donation by way of a thank you and also a gratitude. What a fantastic building it is to help with the ongoing maintenance. Now, if you're looking at the architecture of the place, very little evidence of the monastic buildings now survives above ground. 3 bays of the semi-derelict circa 15 cloisters were restored and extended by 5 further bays in the replica in the 1920s as a war memorial to the new work using the surviving medieval footings. Now, the approximate footprint of the cloister quadrangle was recreated as a grassed area when adjoining buildings were redeveloped in 2019. Now, the approximate extent of the monastic enclosure is defined by the modern street of St Bartholomew Close and Cloth Fair, which are both outside and adjacent to the church. Now, if you're looking at this and think, I'm sure I've seen that before, many films have been filmed here, including Shakespeare in Love, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, and probably the big one, 4 Weddings and a Funeral. Yes, if you've seen that one with Hugh Grant, you may well recognise this church. And as you've seen with the artworks earlier, you really do have modern art that's within here. And this is a Damien Hirst piece. So Damien Hirst, he of the formaldehyde sheep and various other bits and pieces which people flock to. And this is just sitting here in this church. The church was very fortunate, as the Priory church was one of the few city churches to escape major damage during the Blitz. Now, charitable distributions in the churchyard on Good Friday continue a tradition established when 21 sixpences were placed upon the gravestone of a woman, stipulating that her bequest fund an annual distribution to 21 widows in perpetuity, with hot cross buns nowadays being given not only to widows but others. Now, as we look around the main part of this church, which of course is St Bartholomew the Great, we did the Lesser earlier, just as a reminder, this is the oriel window, and the interior oriel window was installed in the early 16th century by Prior William Bolton, allegedly so he could keep an eye on the monks. Now, the prior's lodgings were adjacent to the south of the church, and the symbol at the centre of the panel is a crossbow bolt passing through a tunnel barrel, which at the time was a pun on the name of the priory. Now, this is the Rahea monument, and this is immediately to the north of the high altar and is of course the monument to the founder Rahea. And here it is from the other side of the windows and the wall. Now, this is in a mixture of the decorated Gothic and perpendicular Gothic styles. The painted effigy lies on top of the tomb under an elaborate canopy. Now, it's unclear whether it is the resting place of his remains or just a monument, since it was constructed some 250 years after his death in 1144. And as a final spooky offering, apparently the ghost of Rahea is reputed to haunt the church following an incident during repair work in the 19th century when the tomb was opened and a sandal removed. Now, the sandal was returned to the church, but not Rahea's foot, and Rahea since then, as a shadowy cowled figure, appears from the gloom, brushes by astonished witnesses and fades slowly into thin air. Rahea is said to appear every year on the morning of July the 1st at 7 a.m, emerging from the vestry, probably wanting his other foot and sandal back. We mentioned St Paul's Cathedral, and we put the video to that up in the top right hand corner. And if you fancy supporting the channel, our calendar is now available from our YouTube shop. So just look below the video and you'll be able to purchase that for, well, just under $5, which helps to support the channel. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed that, and hopefully you'll get a chance to get down there, but not when Rahea is out and about.